Welcome, my viewers. Welcome this evening to the Scarlet Lounge with me, June Mutua, where we talk about societal issues and give solutions to certain problems, tangible solutions. Today, we are going to talk about basically jobs, job seeking, and all that. Why you are not landing a job this year. Probably the jobs then are not the same jobs right now. Probably IT people and digital media people and social media managers and such things were not there then. But currently we have such kind of jobs. So why are you not landing a job in 2021? With me here is Grace Ndunge, the CEO of Newsline Media Limited, and she will introduce herself and talk about her company and her journey of hiring and firing. I think she's a chip of an old block somewhere because she has a lot of wisdom concerning the same. Not to forget the knowledge that she has. So welcome, Grace.
Thank you very much, June, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And like you said, my name is Grace Ndunge.
Yes.
I am the CEO at Newsline Media. Newsline Media is a communication company, and our work is basically to tell the stories of brands. We work with brands, big, small, international, local, to help them tell their story, because when you tell a story, people are able to buy and to feel you, and also to understand you. Then they are able to be loyal to your products, and they are able to also understand how your products are made, such kinds of things. So we work with brands to help them tell the stories, and eventually we know that a story sells, because people buy stories. They don't buy products or services.
Sure.
Yes.
So basically, your journey of hiring and firing.
Right. So Newsline Media has been was established rather in 2010, but formally registered in 2011, and so we have about 10 or so years of hiring and firing.
Sure.
I would not really focus on the firing part. It's a painful one, and as we'll talk about it as we move on in the show. But yes, we do have a wealth of experience doing that, especially because Newsline Media started from the scratch. So it's not a business that we inherited. It's a business that we started ourselves, myself and the co-director at Newsline, from scratch. So when you start a business from scratch, you have to do a lot of the things. You find yourself being the one hiring and firing. You clean at some point, you run errands, you do everything. And then as the business continues to grow, like Newsline has for the last 10 years, you begin to bring in new talent. And, with the hope that this talent that is coming in is going to help and support the growth. And that is where my wisdom, I think, comes from.
Sure.
Because it's not an easy journey. It's definitely very hard. Sometimes it's downright frustrating. I mean, I must say that, because for example, in our industry, you could be looking for talent and it could take you forever to just find someone who can do tasks such as editing, which are like video editing, which is the core or the heart of production in media, or someone who can write very well, because the media is about telling stories. You cannot tell a story, if you cannot write. And writing dictates or guides everything else we do. So it becomes a challenge. So yes, it can be very frustrating to hire and to look for talent that matches your needs and the company's, resources, and also the current market trends. Yes.
I have been following your social media platforms, and LinkedIn is like the creme de la creme of the adverts for jobs and such. It's a good platform to get the people you can hire for the different things you would want in the different departments. And I am sure you have advertised a couple of times for the different positions you have in your company, and you have had various CVs. You have read them, the resumes and the curriculum vitae. You have gone through them, and you have been able to pick you know, I want this one and I don't want this one. I will call this one for an interview and I will not call this one. I will directly hire this one and I will have to train this one. So how do you determine that?
Right, that's a very interesting question, because one of the things I guess that I learned as I continued to do the hiring, especially for the company, and because our industry is very talent specific, like we're very talent based. Sometimes, like for instance, when you talk about editing, it's not just about the ability to put graphics together. There has to be some creative aspect to it. So for us, what we'd be looking for, in addition to the skill, the how do you know how to use, for example, Final Cut Pro, which is a video editing software that we use, or Adobe Premiere that also we use. Do you know how to use that software? So in addition to looking at that, we also ask ourselves, can you fit into the system? Also, do you have the creativity? And that's where the rubber meets the road. We look for somebody, or rather, when we are hiring, we try to look for somebody who not only knows how to use video editing software or a camera, for example, but someone who has the creativity to give you a shot. So it's not just about the software. It's about using the software to give you a beautiful shot, to tell a story, to communicate a message. And I'll tell you, it's a very gruesome process, because most of the people that we have in the market know how to use the software. They do not know how to use it creatively. And so nobody is going to give you a job if all you know is how to use the software. I mean, anybody can learn that. But do you have the creativity to make that short, if you're taking a video clip, to make that clip interesting? And that's what we try to match.
Sure.
In addition to that, we look for somebody that can fit into the team. Again, the nature of our industry is that you cannot work by yourself.
Yes.
For instance, for us to produce this show here, we have a camera person, you have an editor somewhere, we have someone who did graphics, we have sound that has to be taken care of, there's a live stream that's going on, so it's teamwork. There is you who's hosting the show. So it is teamwork. You cannot do these things by yourself.
Yes.
So we also look for somebody who can fit into a team. And the tricky part is usually in identifying that part, the creativity, that part, that one creative, and then that part of teamwork. Can this person fit into teamwork?
Yes.
And I will tell you something that has amazed me over the years. I have somehow I'm able to tell, just by reading your CV, I can actually tell whether you'll fit into the team in Newsline or not. And 50%, like at Newsline, usually what we do is we have a 3-step process for interviews. So for example, when you apply for a job as, for example, video editor, my favorite. So if you apply for a job as a video editor, you send in your CV to hr@newslinemedia.com. And then once you send in the CV, we go through the CV, shortlist you. We send you an online questionnaire. The purpose of the online questionnaire is so that you can, fill in, like give us extra information over and above the information you provided for us in your CV. We're trying now to look at your compatibility with the team, and also with the resources that are in place. And resources here, I'm not just talking about salary, I'm also talking about time, because in our industry there's no 8 to 5 job. It doesn't exist. Sometimes people work long hours, sometimes people have nothing to do for weeks. So we have to look at how compatible you are with that. So we send you that online questionnaire. When you send it back, then we go ahead, and if we feel that you're compatible, and the interesting thing is that by the time we are sending you the online question, you're sending it back. When we invite you now, the next step is to invite you for an interview. And the interview is a practical interview. Yes. Especially for most of production jobs, we don't just take you in. You must go through a practical interview to prove that what you said you know how to do on your CV is what you're actually doing. And then now from there, once you do your practical interview, we realize that you have a strength in this and that. And then now we do a verbal interview, and then we incorporate you. It's a very intense process, but the purpose of that is to identify the right talent that matches with the resources and the team. Because I mean, you're going to be bringing many people together. They have got to be people that can gel.
Sure.
Basically, yeah. So that's what we look for: creativity and ability to integrate into a team.
Sure.
Yeah.
The conversation is going on, and we are on Twitter at tweets_Scarlett, on Facebook and YouTube live at Scarlett Women Kenya. Now, as we continue, you have gone through the CVs and the resumes and all that. You have checked their creativity, and you have also checked how they can integrate with the Newsline community. So why do you think most people do not fit in, or are not able to acquire the job even after they have passed? Like, you have seen their CV, it's quite good, and every other thing, and also their hands-on skills are quite good, but they can't really land the job, or they can't even sustain it. Some of them are able to get the job, but they can't sustain it. It's another topic altogether.
That's
so
true. Yeah.
Can you address that?
Yeah, of course. One of the things I didn't say is that one of the practices we have in Newsline is that when we send you the online questionnaire, we call you. We call you for two reasons. First, to tell you, there are some people who don't check their emails all the time, which to me is a wonder, because I don't know how you're looking for a job. Yes. You are applying for jobs through your email, and then you're not even checking your email.
Yes.
You go for 2-3 days and you're not checking. That is always a wonder for me. That notwithstanding, we call people for two reasons. One, to tell them we have sent you an online questionnaire,
yes,
kindly fill it in and send it back. But secondly, we want to begin to interact with you. When you call somebody on the phone, you can actually tell a lot about that person just by listening to a conversation on phone. And it all starts with the simple thing of your ringtone. So if I call you and your ringtone, I don't know, you call it skizatune or whatever you call it.
Skizatune.
Yes, your skizatune is my jaber una beta. Already it says something, yes, about you. If I call you and your ringtone is one love, I already know something about you. It says a lot about you. So your skizatune is the first thing before we even talk to you. Your skizatune is the first thing that tells us about you.
It has already sold you out.
It has already sold you out or sold you in. Yes. It depends. And then from there, the next thing is how you answer that call. There are some people, when you call them, and then they'll be like, they answer, hi. Or others will say, niaje. Or others will say, So if I call you and you say, hello, my name is so and so. Am I speaking to June? And you say, yep. It says something about you.
Yes.
It says something about you. And just by that simple conversation, it says, we are able to tell, who are you? Who is this person? Can they gel with us? Do we want them here? Because if that's how they are responding, that's how they respond to calls usually. That is themselves. Because of course at that point, I have introduced myself. I have told you my name is Grace, I'm calling you from Newsline, and then you know very well you had applied for a job in Newsline. Then you say, yep. Obviously, I'm like, okay, that one has an attitude problem. I don't need to be told much. So those are some of the things that will help us to tell. And yes, those are some of the reasons why you will not get in. Now, when you come in, say for example, you're a nice person, so you have answered and said, yes, yes, ma'am, yes, madam, my name is, yes, you're speaking to June, and I say, I sent you the online questionnaire, and you probably tell me, yes, I have received it or not, and then I'll ask you, can you kindly look at your email and fill it in, and then send us back. I will listen in to see, are you really interested in that conversation? Someone who's interested in something, they will ask questions. Because the first thing they say, oh yes, thank you very much. You send it, did you send it to this email? Yes. They're confirming. This is a detail, or it tells you already, this is a detail-oriented person. And this is a person who's organized. And it already paints a picture of how you will be dealing with the clients at Newsline. So already in my mind as the employer, I've begun to see you before I even see you, and before you even answer the online questionnaire. I have seen your CV, I know who you are, I have a rough idea, I have your skeleton, so to speak. Now I'm just filling in the flesh. So you'll ask questions like, did you use this email? Or which, by what date do you want me to send it back?
Yes.
And, do you have any preferred formats? And then you say, thank you very much, I will respond by this time, give me precise timings. You're expressing yourself. It means you can communicate, it means you can, you're reliable, it means you're well planned. Another picture. So the reason people don't land is because they're not portraying themselves positively. And then finally now they come in. When you come for the interview, they're the obvious things. Surely. Do not come for the interview dressed funnily. Dress up. Please. Honestly. You dress up. It doesn't matter. Some people say that in some industries we are allowed to be free. Yeah. So you show up here with, I don't know, sagging jeans and the funny clothes. It doesn't work. It just paints the wrong picture about you. The first time you're meeting anybody, an employer, and you really want to get that job, please dress up. And I know that because I have seen previously. I remember, for example, must have been 2014 or 2015, we had one gentleman who was looking for a graphic design job. And he walked in here with dreadlocks. I mean, I have nothing against dreadlocks, but he walked in with, nice dreadlocks, and we offered him an opportunity. He worked here for about 2 weeks. After that, he got an offer where I'd call like a dream, or his dream job. So one weekend he goes, and then he comes back on Monday without dreadlocks. I'm like, okay, what happened? He tells me, because I have received an offer in another organization, like a big brand.
Yes.
So I had to cut my dreadlocks. I said, why didn't you cut the dreadlocks when you were coming to Newsline? Exactly. That's another story. But yes, your appearance says much about you.
Sure.
For the ladies especially, please dress up. Do not dress up skimpily. I have seen ladies that dress up depending on who called them.
Yes.
Like sometimes when a man, and I have just observed this, when a man is the one that calls you, invites them for the interviews, they come dressed up a bit skimpily. And I'm like, seriously, I'm not going to give you a job if that's how you're going to be dressing up.
Yes.
It's not about this guy who called you.
Yeah.
It's about the clients of Newsline.
Yes.
So dress properly. Because here in Newsline, we are not going to be dressing badly. You're not going to be dressing like that. So come portraying how you're going to dress. Another reason why people do not get the opportunities that they. And then finally, please, when you come for an interview, bring the necessary documents. It is the time of Corona, COVID-19. At least show some innovation. Bring your documents saved on maybe on your WhatsApp.
Yes.
When you arrive, you get to the interview, you say, I did not bring my hard copies because of the COVID situation. I didn't know whether you would allow me to bring in any documentation, but I do have my material on WhatsApp. Is there any number among the panelists that I can share my information on, my information through? That's, it shows that you're an organized person, you're thinking ahead. It says a lot about you.
Yes.
At the interview, goodness, please be courteous. And that is where many people go wrong. Because one of the things I have seen during interviews, so someone will ask you, so June, it says here that you write very well. And then you will say something like, yeah, I write very well. As I had told you before, when I was talking about myself, I have been writing. You don't tell an interviewer, as I had told you before. You're being rude.
Yes.
Because when the reason you use the word, as I had told you before, is because you're speaking to somebody, you're quite irritated, they cannot remember what they were saying. So again, that's a small speech errors here and there. They sell you out.
Avoid the as a matter of fact tone.
Yes, avoid it. And avoid being rude. And avoid making your interviewers feel like they're disturbing you.
Yes.
That you have something better to do. Yeah, some of the reasons why you don't land the job. You do not, you have a weird ringtone. Says a lot. You do not communicate very well. You do not dress up well when you show up. You don't read your emails on time. Obviously, you're not going to land that job.
Sure.
When you finally come for the interview, you're not properly dressed for the occasion. And if you're properly dressed, then you come in and you don't communicate very well. You're rude. You're impatient. That just doesn't work at the end of the day.
Again, you have pointed out that as you talk to the particular person who has applied for that job, you can already picture who that person is. Do you normally have like a rough picture of the kind of person you would want before having a picture of the kind of person that has already applied for that job? A person you can compare with. You're like, yeah, June has applied, but I have this kind of person in my mind. So I will compare June with this other person X that I have in my mind.
Actually, that's a very interesting question because that is the reason usually jobs have job specifications or job description. So if you look at the job description, it will say we are looking for somebody with these particular skills or these particular competencies. And then we want someone with this kind of character. And people need to know these things. There's a difference between skills and the kind of a person that is required. Sometimes when we were starting, we said when you're, a lot of times we find that we have many media students or media personnel that are just good at using a software, but they're not creative. So those are two different things. You could be skilled, but you do not have the qualities of the person. So there is the issue of skills and qualities. And the job description, skills and qualities, is the picture of the person that you have in mind.
Sure.
And of course, when we call you for an interview, we are comparing you to see, do you really match this person that we have in mind? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we are lucky, which is like almost never, 0.01% chance that you will find that ideal person. But most of the time, I would say in Newsline, we've been able to find matches of up to 80%, 95 sometimes, depending on the position. Yeah. So yes, you always have the ideal person.
Yes.
And the ideal person is guided by the skills and the qualities. And then try to match the CVs that you get, because it's also, that is like the marking scheme. That is what determines who you can send, invite for this interview, who you can send the online questionnaire to. Otherwise, you'll invite the entire world.
Sure.
Yes.
This far, I'm sure you have questions. This is to our viewers. You have questions, you have comments, you probably want something to be clarified. Continue sending in your tweets and your comments on Facebook at Scarlett Kenya and on Twitter, tweets_Scarlett. Before then, you probably have been able to bring together the people that you have interviewed and you felt like, this one, not really, we will pick this one. So as we continue to check it out, as you continue to check it out and find out that I want this person and I do not want this one, after all that you have done and you've taken in, for example, you've taken in June and you've left out Janet, are you able to communicate to Janet and tell them this is the reason why we will not hire you?
Okay, that's a very good question. It depends, really. Again,
yes,
it's an individual, a case-to-case basis. There are some people who you know, when usually our practice in Newsline
Sure.
is that if we have called you for the interview, the face-to-face interview,
Yes.
especially, or the practical interview.
Yes.
Say from the practical interview, we've invited you for the practical interview, we will call you to say you're successful or not. That's our practice. As far as, you know, people applying, sending in CVs, they're usually millions of CVs. We do not even go there. If we don't shortlist you,
Yes.
and, you know, at the online questionnaire part also, the online questionnaire already has a disclaimer on it, saying that if you do not hear from us within 48 hours
Yes.
of sending in your response, it means that you're not successful. But if, you know, some people, when they're not successful, when we call them and say, you know, you came for the practical interview, unfortunately, you know, you're not successful, a few people will ask, oh, why? Where did I go wrong? And then we will give you a reason. Other people will just say, okay, sawa, thanks. So, depends. I guess it's good practice to tell people, but at Newsline, we still do not do it as yet. I guess
still
it's
don't
something
tell
we can, yeah, it's something we can learn. I guess
Sure.
it's something that we can learn.
I think you can incorporate it because some people are not taken in, and maybe they just made a slight mistake, and probably would help them out in the next interview. As we continue with this conversation, we are going on a break. We will be right back, and we will be talking about maybe something more exciting. And as we go on a break, we are still checking out your comments and your questions and every other thing you'd like to be clarified. I'm still yours, June Mutua, on Scarlet Lounge. On Twitter at tweets_Scarlet. On Facebook at Scarlet Women Kenya. And on YouTube at Scarlet Women Kenya. Thank you. We'll be right back after the break.
What are we going to talk about next?
What do you think is advisable for people who are seeking jobs to get coaching? Bado unaona? It's something else. Welcome back. My name is June Mutua here on Scarlet Lounge. I can already see your comments and questions are streaming in, but before I read them out, I still have a question for Grace. Through the job seeking and trying to find something you can do, whether or not you are choosing it in your line that you chose to study or not, do you feel it is right for people to get a career coach to coach them through the career path they want to take?
Very interesting question. Of course, given that the concept of a career coach is very new.
Yes.
When some of us were looking for jobs, there were no career coaches. You were supposed to figure it out yourself.
Sure.
But I think if you have the ability and pleasure of getting a career coach, that would be very nice. I would recommend a mentor more, because a mentor is somebody that will walk with you,
Sure.
and help you not just about your career, but see how your career fits into your entire life. I think that might work better. But of course, mentors are very hard to find sometimes. Yes, because
Sure.
people are really busy. Yeah, but a career coach, yeah, definitely. If you have the pleasure and the ability, yeah, why not go for one?
Yes. I would advise, personally, I was not able to get a career coach. In our time, we didn't have things like this. We only had counselors. Were they counselors? Or in primary, you have someone that is called...
Guidance and counseling.
yeah,
That's what they
and
used to call
counseling.
them. Yeah.
And we used to have career days. And every teacher would plan their books and those things. A mathematics teacher would talk about pure mathematics and all that.
Yes.
A science teacher will talk about sciences, doctors, nurses, and we didn't have career coaches. So according to me, I think checking your interests, what you like doing, your experiences, they would really match your career. If you're a silent person, please don't get a host job.
Very true.
Please don't be like me. If you're a silent person, please don't be like me. I talk too much. I like sharing out what I learn. I learn something and I go to a colleague's desk. Have you seen this? Have you been able to interact with this? And I feel I'm happy when I do that. But someone like my sister, she's a doctor. I'm sure she's watching this. She's always silent. She will see something very interesting and she will not share it until you talk about it. And she'll be like, yeah, I saw something like that. Maybe I can show you. But normally, even having a conversation in the house, having a conversation like sisters, I've seen this, I want to experience this, I like this, quite hard. So if you're a silent person, please don't get a host job from June's mouth, from a host's mouth.
That is so true. But sometimes I find I have met people who, over the years, have managed to actually change their character to suit their careers.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's possible to do that. I know, I'm on that list. I was quite introverted for a very long time in my life. And introverted in the sense that I do love my space, still do. Like to spend time by myself with my nice book and tea. That's like, if that happens in my life, I'm like, this is it, my life is going on well.
Yes.
And then I find myself in an industry where you have to talk. And also leading a company in an industry where it's quite male dominated. It's heavily male dominated. Yes. The media is heavily male dominated, especially at the top.
Yes.
So you have to adjust. I'd not say adjust, but I'd say teach yourself. You have to unlearn certain things so that you can succeed.
Yes.
So there are, I still keep my introvertedness. I still do. On Saturday, I will be seated in the house with my book, hiding somewhere in my bedroom, not moving away, and a flask of black tea there. But on a Monday, you will find me, everywhere, calling people, laughing, and doing what I am supposed to do, because it's what I love doing. but I have to quite adjust. So sometimes it depends. If you feel that you're in a space where, for example, you'd like to be a host, but you're a quiet person, find your space within that.
Sure.
Fortunately, the opportunities nowadays are immense. I'd say they are endless. The opportunities are limited by your mind and your creativity. So look for what works with you and what works for you, and then fit yourself there. That's it. The interesting thing is you will find that sometimes what works for you also works for another person. Yeah, there's no man on earth that experiences something alone, except of course for those weird diseases.
That's harsh.
No, it's true. The weird, unique diseases that, only 1 out of a billion people, for example, suffer from.
Yes.
But a lot of things that human beings experience they cut across. And if you feel something and it's a need, someone else has it.
Yes.
You might just create an opportunity for someone else.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I'll give my experience. With the people that I know, if I get to know you, say someone like Brother Raphael, I know Brother Raphael, I work with him. In case I want to ask something concerning the technical bench, I'll go and find him and ask him, I've seen this, it's quite new, would you orient me through it? He's someone I'm free with. We have traveled with him, we have interacted in different ways. I will feel free to talk about so many things with that kind of person. But when I meet people that I don't know, or I'm in quite an unfamiliar environment, you'll find me with a book. I take out a book and start reading, and sometimes I'd get to be rude in case that person crosses my line. In cases where I just want my space, I want to be in my room and read and maybe acquire some knowledge on something, and you come knocking the door and looking for me and thinking that I'm still this all
bubbly and excited person, yeah,
excited all the time, I will just shut you at the door. And you're like, okay, what have I done wrong? Yesterday she was yapping everywhere. And right here she's blocking my way. And yeah, that way you get to understand yourself. I will look at your questions and your comments. Someone here is saying, tell us about your worst experience, Grace.
Well, my worst experience. Let's see. My worst experience was there's one time we had some interviews. We were looking for PR people. That was, I think, 2016 or 17, thereabout. And we got this lady who we invited for the interview. And at that point, I had personally, I was at a point in my life where I said, now I'm just going to be honest. I'm trying to help young people get jobs. So if you come for the interview and I'm not really going to give you a job, I will tell you directly. I'll just tell you by the time we're done the interview, you know what? Sorry, we cannot give you this interview because of 1, 2, 3. I thought I'd give direct feedback. And one time I I gave this lady feedback, and she didn't take it kindly at all. And I actually just told her, you know what? She was looking for a job in PR, and I said, if you want to, can you write? In our discussion, it became very clear that she cannot write.
Yes.
And I told her, you know what? If you really want to be in PR, you must learn how to write. You can teach yourself to do this. Start reading small books. Look for the smallest books, the smallest paged books, and start reading from there. Read everything you come across, newspapers, magazines, anything you find interesting.
Yes.
And get a voice and start writing, because in PR you must know how to write to succeed. And she didn't take it kindly at all, and I didn't know that she didn't take it kindly at that point. 2 days later, one of my friends called and said and told me that they had an opportunity, and that lady seemed to fit because that opportunity did not require a lot of writing. So it seemed to fit this lady very well. So I called her. I said, I know we had a conversation, but you didn't fit into Newsline. But this particular, I have a friend who has this and that. Would you be interested?
Yes.
And she told me off. She told me, you already told me you did not want my skills. And so I said, okay. That was my worst experience by far. By far, that was my worst experience. And that, I think, was the last time I ever gave feedback to anybody directly. I never do it again. Usually I leave it for when you're gone.
Yes.
24 hours are over, and then now I can tell you.
When you give the feedback.
Yes, although I find, as a person, I prefer instant feedback. I'm in the instant generation one. I love instant feedback. I mean, if you're going to give me a job, tell me now. If you're not, tell me too. But I realized that we don't all accommodate information in that way. So that was by far my worst experience. Yes, I have a few other interesting ones. Well, mini worse ones, but not
not as bad as that one.
Yes.
Okay, that was quite a bad experience. I wouldn't like to experience that. Someone else here asks, how do I position myself where I'm called for a practical interview? Sometimes employers require us to show us what we can do. Okay, to show us what we can do in accordance to what we say we can do. So how do I position myself? How do I position myself where I am called for a practical interview?
All right, that's a very good question.
Yes.
Because most jobs now, even if you're going, to code, or you're going to do production, or you're going to do whatever you must, nobody wants to just, take you up. They will want to see what you can see. The first thing is make sure that you have told the truth.
Yes.
That is the most important positioning point. Tell the truth. If you know how to use a software, say you know how to use it.
Yes.
And go deeper and say, for example, I know how to use Microsoft Word at an intermediate level. Or I'm an expert, or I'm just a beginner. Don't say, I know how to use Microsoft Word, and then you're given Microsoft Word and you cannot make head or tail of it. Yeah.
Yes.
So the first most important positioning is to tell the truth.
Yes.
Secondly, on the day you're going for the practical interview, please have time. Make sure that you have adequate time and you're mentally prepared to do this. If you have told the truth and you're mentally prepared, you are already several steps in. Finally, look at the jobs that this company undertakes. Say, for example, you're coming to Newsline. Surely if you're coming to, and I have seen this, next time you come for an interview, let me talk to them now.
Yes.
Next time you get an interview from Newsline, they call you, we call you and say, come for an interview. Kindly do me a favor and go to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, because it gives you an idea of the kind of work that we undertake. Sometimes I'm so surprised that we even give people clips to edit clips of jobs that are already on YouTube.
Yes.
And they still do some ridiculous things. So go to, do your research. Go to that company. Go to their website. Go to their social media pages. See, especially where you have materials that are displayed publicly. If you're looking for a job, for example, in research, for example, look at the reports that they write, that they produce. Look at reports they have launched. How are they formatted? How are they written? That's the way to be able to succeed in that interview and land yourself that job.
Yes. And I have had a simple comment. You have talked about Skiza Tunes as we wrap it up.
Yes.
You've talked about Skiza Tunes, and you have said that when you call and it has a certain song and the other one has maybe a reggae song, what about the people who don't have a Skiza tune at all?
Actually, those are the best. It's always good, and I always say this, in terms of Skiza tunes, you should play safe.
Yes.
Play safe. There are two ways to play safe. One, you can just refuse to have a Skiza tune, like me. So you just call it rings normally. Secondly, You could have the skiza tune of your company, the one you're working for right now. If I were to call you, for example, and I found that your skiza tune is the one for the company, if your company already has one, I find that your phone, the skiza tune on your phone is that one. It tells me that you're a loyal employee. It tells me that if I bring you to my company, I am going to be very lucky. Because you're definitely, the same way you're putting skiza tune, I'm assuming you're not being forced to do it or being paid, but the same way you're putting skiza tune for your current employer is the same way you will work to promote Newsline. So those are the two ways to be safe about it.
Yes.
But the most important thing with the phone is the way you answer the phone. I think we just have a terrible culture where people just take everything for granted and they think everything is easy. Just because you cannot see me when I'm on phone, just because I cannot see your face or whatever when we are talking, then it doesn't mean that I cannot come up with an image of you. So you want to try and portray the best image possible, because voice also, I mean, that's the power of radio and voice and telephones, that even just by hearing a voice, you can form an image in your mind. So voice is very, very powerful. Do not ignore it at all. I think one thing, before we conclude, one thing I should have mentioned is about virtual interviews. That's another reason why people are not landing jobs. One of the reasons people are not getting jobs is because they do not know how to use Zoom. I know what you're thinking. 2021, there are people who do not know how to use Zoom. Okay, fine. It's not bad if you don't know how to use Zoom. Maybe you have not used it. And all the other platforms, of course. There's Zoom, there's Gmeet, there's Blue Jeans, all these platforms that exist. And Skype for guys, Skype, basic. So the thing about a virtual interview is that when someone calls you for a virtual interview, most likely you will be doing a virtual job. There's that part, first of all. Or that job will have an aspect of virtual. There'll be an aspect of virtual. So the reason this employer is asking you to join in on Zoom is because they're trying to understand whether to see, it's part of the interview, to see whether you know how to log into Zoom. So if you're supposed to be on a Zoom meeting, a Zoom interview at 3 o'clock, please, for God's sake, at 2:57, 2:55 latest, be logged in. Even if the meeting has not started, be logged in at 2:55. When you log in, turn on your video. Turn on your video and understand how to place your camera so that it works for you, it benefits you. I have seen people who get onto a Zoom interview and they place, maybe they are using the phone, and it's fine, you can use any gadget you'd like, but you're using the phone and then you just place it such that we are seeing your chin from up here, from the neck up. We can't see your face. That just skews the entire communication process. So make sure that you position your camera properly. Make sure that your earphones are working. Please, earphones should be working. And go to a place that is silent. And make sure that you have data. Do not start the Zoom call and then somewhere along the way you drop off. And then now the interviewers, sometimes, and this has happened to us, we were interviewing somebody, we are so excited that, this is like a really good person, we're already, like, we're excited, we're like, hey, this one, we're just exchanging direct messages on Zoom. We're like, we are taweza. Kidogo, the guy drops off. You wonder, what are you supposed to do with this one?
What's happening?
Yes. So have enough data. Make sure your phone is charged if it's the phone that you're using. If you're using a laptop, make sure it's charged or it has a proper source of power. Make sure your lighting is good so people can be able to see you. And dress up. Dress up. It's an interview just like any other. So don't just appear there looking funny. And if you dress up from waist up, make sure not to stand under all circumstances. Don't show us
I saw a meme sometime where there's this man who's very neatly dressed in a shirt na amenyonga mpaka tai, and then huku kando anachonga viazi and then it's written nothing from my side. And that was quite funny, but that part kwa when they don't know how to use Zoom. Grace ameshout, si ndio? If you feel Grace has shouted, please let me see your comments, let me see your views, because she has really shouted. So many people don't know how to use Zoom.
Yes.
Just clicking the link and placing your camera and all that, you have really shouted. But that is quite a point. I hope you have learned something. Before we conclude, there is this thing that people hear and they follow it through. It's kind of a mindset. Our parents tell us that if you don't have a first class, you will never land a job. If you are not number one, you will never land a job. You need to be top class, first class honors, second class upper, for you to be able to get a good job, which is right. Most companies check on that. They make sure that you also passed your exams before they let you in. But nowadays you find out that some people did not even finish school, did not even finish their university years and graduated, but they landed themselves a very good job, maybe because they have the skills and all that. And I felt like maybe those first class honors and the second class honors that our parents want from us is maybe because of upgrading. When you want to pursue your masters and maybe go forth and PhD and all that, you will require that. You will require that first class and that second class, because for the rest you will really take time before you are taken in. What do you say about that? The first class and second class thing.
First, I'd tell everybody, if you're in college, you're studying,
Yes.
ongeza bidii. Wacha mchezo bwana. Ongeza bidii,
Yes.
you need a first class. First class is important.
Yes, very.
It's important if you can get it. If by any chance you did not get it, you're still on track. The brightest and the richest people, or rather the richest people in the world, they do not have first class. Some of them do not even have a college education.
Yes.
That's how the world is. But the thing that, and I really want to encourage women and the ladies and also the men, the most important thing in the world, it's not a first class, it's not money, and it's not a skill. It's about a quality called consistency. That's it. We just need to be consistent. The reason why, for instance, Newsline Media exists is because we have been consistent with our service. We have been consistent with what we are doing, day in, day out. Many companies have come on board and they've fallen off the wagon. We are still here. It's not because we make the most profits. It's not because we are the largest.
Yes.
It's because we are consistent. And that is the thing. If you decide you're going to be an engineer, for example,
Yes.
be consistent about it and work consistently towards that goal. A first class is good. Be consistent so that you get it. But also be consistent to get skills.
Yes.
Also, I have seen, unfortunately, and this really pains me, that the first class guys, for some reason, they don't have the skills. That's something I have experienced. Not all of them, but majority of them do not have the skills that they can, use to get jobs, secure jobs, and everything. And they're the ones that get most frustrated because they have worked very hard. It's not easy to get a first class. It's hard work. And when you finally land that first class and then you cannot get a job, it can be very frustrating at the end of the day. So I'd say consistency. The reason somebody who did not finish a college degree has a job that is well paying is because they've been consistent about what they do, about their skill. And the reason why the first class person will not get a job or will get a job and cannot sustain it is because they are not consistent. It's about consistency. When you're consistent, you build a brand. You build a brand, people, you build a brand also known as a story. When you have a story, people will look for you because they want to hear it. They will relate to it. They will understand it. They will identify with you.
Yes.
I need to say also something here. When you finally land a job and you still want to advance in your career, please don't end at bachelor's degree. Go for that master's, go for that PhD, because as you grow older and you're looking for bigger opportunities, you will need that. You will need those qualifications to support you. Yeah, like say for example right now, if you were to look at the current cabinet, you know, the president yesterday, is it the day before yesterday,
Yes.
constituted, reshuffled. If you look at the guys there, yeah, how many doctors do we have? Several. PhDs. How many professors do we have? Several. Yeah. So that tells you even government is taking the cream de la cream, professors and doctors.
Sure.
So I think we know the direction to go.
Yes.
But most important thing, be consistent. Yes.
Now, as we wrap it up now, I want you to talk about expectations briefly.
Okay.
These, okay, they will say that I'm really naonea watu wa first class, lakini si waonei. These first class people, they have expectation. They feel like, mi nilisoma nikapata first class ama second class hapa. These people cannot pay me 15,000. I don't want it. These people cannot pay me 30,000. I don't deserve it. They want to hire my skills, of which sometimes they don't have it, but they expect to be paid more. What would you say about that?
It's not about first class people. It's a concept that I know you said I'd be brief. I'm going to try and be brief on this one. I once met some young ladies.
Yes.
They had just graduated from the university. It was 2019. They had just graduated from the university. I think that was Karatina University, or I'm not sure which. And there was one from Karatina, from Nairobi, and from, I'm not sure whether they a private university. And we're just having breakfast, having conversations about expectations and salary expectations. And they shocked me by telling me that when they were in college, their professors told them that by the time they graduate, their first job, they should be earning not less than 100,000. By the time they are 26 years, they will have an apartment and a car. And I was shocked.
Okay.
I was very shocked. I said, is this what the professor said? Is it what you learned at the university? He said, yeah. I mean, we had sessions where we were told, this is the salary, the kind of salary that we expect you can earn. I will say this. There is nothing that comes in easy. Yes, there are jobs that pay people 100,000. But let me tell you, if someone pays you 100,000, oh, you've got to work for it. You will work for that 100,000 day and night. 24 hours a day. You will be the property of that person who is paying you that much. If someone pays you $1 million, I can tell you, more and more work.
Yes.
So let's not have unrealistic expectations. Expect to start from the bottom and climb up. Don't think you can climb the tree from the top. Climb it from the bottom. That is the only way you will be able to go up. But now I find that, we have young people who sort of like have a salary range by the time they are graduating. Mimi lazima nilipwe between 30 and 60,000. Without which, I'm not taking up that job.
Yes.
And my friend, other people come and take up those jobs. They take the jobs at, starting at 15,000 at 20,000. And in 2-3 years, they have amassed skill that helps them to move to 45,000.
Yes.
And to move to 70 and to 80 and to 2.5 million, like some of the bank CEOs that we see today. They didn't start by earning 200,000.
Yes.
No, their first jobs, they must have made very little. So that's how it works. I'd not say lower your expectations. I'll say level your expectations.
Sure. I've learned something. level your expectations. So we have learned something, and quite a lot. Not even something, we have learned quite a lot. And the people out here, I'm sure you have applied for so many jobs, you have gone for so many interviews, and some of them, people say that nowadays interviews are scams. Lazima uko unajua mtu uko ndani. I don't think it's really the case sometimes. Just check on maybe something that is pulling you down, or something that you're doing that is like selling you out of your jobs. So we have come to the end of the show. I was hoping Grace would have final remarks before I close it up.
My final remark is,
Yes.
you've said something that has just triggered me.
Yes.
Guys, if you're looking for a job in an organization where nobody knows you, if you want to work in an organization where nobody knows you and you get a job, please come to Newsline.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what, in Newsline, everybody is brought here on merit. Everyone comes here by merit.
Yes.
There is nobody who knows anyone. You come here, you're here by merit, and you know, we are happy to have people that are here by merit.
And she loves happy people. So make sure you're a happy human being before you meet the CEO of Newsline. Anyway, Scarlet Lounge, we are welcoming you every Friday from 4 p.m. We still have very interesting topics, informative topics that you'll get to learn about so many things and get solutions to some of your problems, practical solutions for that matter. So we've come to the end of our show, and we still expect your comments, your views, and all that. Anything you want us to talk about on our pages and our social media handles: Scarlet Women Kenya on Instagram, on Twitter, tweets_Scarlet, and on YouTube and Facebook at Scarlet Women Kenya. Thank you very much. I am yours, June Mutua, on Scarlet Lounge. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Foldable multifunction chopping board is a cutting board with colanders. The 6 reasons why you choose it. Multifunctional. Can be used for washing baskets or as a chopping block. Collapsible and portable. Designed for easy storage when not in use. Draining system. Strained fruit and vegetables, washing tube, drainer sink and storage basket. Durable poly board. Food grade material, safe and easy to clean. One price for 3. Pay for one but you can get a washing bowl.